Hello everybody. Welcome. Good morning, good night, good evening, wherever you are. Good to have you with us. My name is Deborah. I'm journalist from Brazil Division, and it's an honor to be with you in this Devweek. We are going to talk today about the challenges of user experience in Metaverse with Flávia Negrão. Flávia, she's a designer. Hello, Flávia. How are you?
Good, good.
I will introduce to you. She's a designer with more than 20 years in the field, mainly international projects. She has worked with design of mobile, desktop, SaaS, B2B, B2C, and enterprise products. She currently leads an experienced design studio in Brazil and acts as an innovation leader in digital experience. Her focus in UX and metaverse. She loves talking about design, studying, and keep up with technology trends. So welcome. And I would like to remember everybody that there is our social media here appear in the screen. Please follow us in our social media and you can use the chat to leave your comments, questions. Flavia will answer by chatting also. Okay? Have a great session. See you soon, Flavia.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Glad to be here today. So today we're going to be talking about the challenges of user experience in the metaverse. So Deborah already introduced me. As you know, I'm here based in Brazil. I'm an innovation leader with focus in user experience and metaverse. And I've been studying metaverse for the past 2 years. This avatar is my avatar that I created for a presentation that I did last year. So if you guys want to create yours, you can go to Ready Player Me and create your own avatar. And this avatar can be uploaded in many, I think it's over 1,000 applications that use this, are using with Ready Player Me. So going forward, let's talk about the challenges of UX in the metaverse. First, what is metaverse? Like for you guys, does it exist? Not exist? Is it there? It's not. I'd like you to think about it. What do you think about this? According to Razorfish and Vice Media Group, since last year, so this was last year's quote, Gen Z consumers spend twice as much time socially interacting in the metaverse than they do in real life. So if we think about this, if they're already spending twice as much time in a metaverse, so does this exist if we're talking about last year? So I like to get that and bring you to some data to see if that really is metaverse. So how many of you have ever played Legend of Zelda? Would we consider this metaverse? Or Minecraft? If you don't have your kids play, do your kids play with Minecraft or Roblox? Or even this Gather Town, I don't know if you guys know this, but this is our office, or this was our office from the studio in Gather Town. So Gather Town is like, you can create your office, each of the designers could decorate their desk, and we have one-on-one meetings. So all of this is a virtual office that we could interact while working from home. So all of these, can we say that all of these are metaverse? Like all of these are kind of like virtual worlds. And if we think about virtual world is any computer generated simulated environment, either like 3D, 2D, an AR, or even a text environment that is computer generated could be considered a virtual world. So if we think about this, would we say that this is already some form of metaverse? Another data that I want to bring is by 2026, according to Gartner, 25% of people will spend at least 1 hour a day in Metaverse for work, shopping, education, social media, or entertainment. So 2026 is less than 3 years away from now. So would we say that we would be spending at least 1 hour a day in Metaverse in some kind of form? I want to bring next some data for you guys to see if we are really into that or not. So these are not only games. So if we go back to the other example, I had some gaming example, but these are some real life examples, like Columbia Court moves to Metaverse to host hearing, and this is from February this year. Also, there is an advertisement for Decentraland having a Metaverse music festival in November coming up this year. So a whole music festival, I think 3 days of festival in the Decentraland. Also, Lincoln Electronic has created some welding training, virtual training, and this has increased the number of people being trained and using VR. So we are using that, we are calling this industrial metaverse, so we can do more training to people through metaverse. And I just got this example here today that I was searching for. So also having like digital twins empowering airports. So what is a digital twin? So digital twin is kind of a copy of real world buildings or cities. And with a digital twin, we can kind of anticipate things. So for example, for the airports, we can think about traffic, like for days that are like big holidays, how we can avoid a crowded airport, or we can simulate some problems. So for a city, we can understand, for example, how a new construction will affect traffic, or a new building will affect the weather, the wind. In real life, I was in London the other day, a few years ago, and there was this building, there was a whole glass building, and the reflection of the sun was causing problems on the street, was causing burn on cars that were parked on the streets because of the reflection of the sun. And the building had to do something to avoid that because it was damaging cars on the street. So with digital twins, we can think about those, we can simulate things, and we can avoid those kind of problems. So this is really interesting, real life examples that are already happening in our lives. So I'd like to bring a definition of metaverse, even though we're not really going to talk about defining metaverse or many aspects of metaverse, but I think this is important to bring. I've been reading this book, which is Metaverse and How It Will Revolutionize Everything, from Matthew Ball, and I really liked his definition. So metaverse is a massive scaled and interoperable network of real-time rendered 3D virtual worlds that can be experienced synchronously and presentially by an effectively unlimited number of users, each with an individual sense of presence and with continuity of data such as identity, history, entitlement, objects, communication, and payment. So these words that I just bolded them and highlighted them. So these are key elements for metaverse. So massive scaled, so everybody can use. Interoperable network. So this would be like technology allowing us to do so. So 3D exchanges much more information. So once we have a network that can support 3D, real-time rendered, right? Virtual worlds synchronously. So as we move the world re-renders. We can persist and come back and see where we just left off. An effective, unlimited number of users, many people can be joining, and we have a sense of presence. We have a sense of being there, and we have continuity of data. So our data, as many of you have learned or heard about it. So if I buy something in Roblox and I can use it in Fortnite, so I have my data, right? So hanging to this definition, I think it's really interesting. Also from the book, Matthew Ball, he says that Metaverse is the fourth wave of computing and network. And what are the other three waves? So the other three waves are the mainframe. It started in 1959 and is still up to today. PC and internet, it started in 1981. And mobile and cloud is still started in 2000 and is up to today. So Metaverse is going to be a new wave, right? We're going to add a new wave. We're not going to not have the other ones. So we're going to keep the other ones, but also add a new layer. So we still have PC and internet, we still have the mobile, and we'll have the Metaverse. And the Metaverse, what is the Metaverse? Is the 3D internet. So that's one key concept that we need to have always in mind. So the internet is 1D, right? The web is the 2D, and the Metaverse will be the 3D. And we're thinking about that. We have the content and the interactions. So what is the main content of the internet 1D? Data files, emails, text. It's text-based, right? And we type and we read. In the web, hypertext, sites, multimedia, social posts, e-commerce. And how do we interact? Pointing and click, tapping and swiping, and speaking. And how it's going to be in the Metaverse? Well, we're going to have the spaces and the objects, right? Visual, auditory, tactile, and it's going to be immersive. And what are the main interactions? Well, position and orientation. So we have the device, we have our heads, our hands, our gaze, our full body. So the interaction will be as natural as possible, right? So these are some changes that we need to consider for the Metaverse. And also, as I mentioned before, immersiveness is a key concept of Metaverse. And to understand immersiveness, we need to understand the reality-virtuality continuum from Milgram, where on the left side, we have the real world, the real environment, and on the right side, we have the total virtual environment. And in between, we have what we call mixed reality. So as an example, this is me before I dyed my hair green. But this is me here in my office. You can see in my office, totally me, no virtual anything. On the right, we have my avatar that I just showed you at the beginning of the talk. And we have me in a total virtual world. And then what is in between? So if we think about augmented reality, it's me with a filter of my me head. So it's still a virtual augmented reality on top of me. So any filter on Instagram is what we could call augmented reality. So we are bringing virtual elements to the real world. And then we have augmented virtuality. So we bring more elements of virtuality to the real world. So this is me last year giving a talk. I was using another tool called Loom AI, which unfortunately is not working anymore. I changed computers. I was going to do my talk with my avatar, but it's not working. So I could not do that. But in my previous computer, it was working. And what it does, it captures your image and translates your image into your avatar. So what you would see, instead of me, Flávia, here speaking, it would be my avatar speaking. And as I move, it would move with me. It would capture my movements and it would be my avatar. So this, you bring more virtuality into the real world. Okay? So with all this, with these two thoughts in mind, I'd like to bring you, as user experience designers, that I hope you guys are watching this, what are our challenges in the metaverse, in this 3D immersive world? So as designers, we will need to learn new abilities and new tools. So we just saw that last week, Apple launched the Apple Vision Pro. There's going to be a toolkit. We're going to have to learn how to design for that. We need to learn how to design for 3D. So most of us are used to design forms and apps. So we're going to learn, we need to learn more things. We need to consider more elements when designing the interactions. So we need to understand the environment. So it's more like filmmaking, right? So the light, the sound, the texture, the animation, we need to think of all of these elements. New forms of interaction. So we're going to interact with our hands, with our head, with the eye movement, space recognition, and new forms of feedback. How are we going to give feedback to the user? It's going to be tactile. It's going to be a smell, temperature. Hopefully, I don't know, the technology is evolving. Would people be able to feel cold, feel hot, right? Smell something? So this is something that we need to think about, because today we have what? A visual and auditory, right? Feedback. So we need to understand other forms of feedback. Also, we need to be designing for more devices. So we are adding a new layer. As Metaverse is a 3D, we're going to have the headset and any other 3D device that comes along. So we need to design for headset, for browser, for mobile. And when we do that as designers, how do we guarantee a consistent experience for the users? So if I don't have a headset, I can still use the product, and can I guarantee the same experience or a similar experience for the person using the browser or using the mobile? Also, a challenge that I see here is adding complexity for testing. So how are we going to do usability testing and user testing in the extended reality world? So for AR, VR, how are you going to do the testing? I'd like to show you guys an example of how we can wireframe for 3D. So this is for a course that I did in Coursera, and I found this very interesting because we need to understand, as I said, filmmaking. So what is on your left? What is going to be on your right? What is going to be behind me? What is going to be in front of me? So we have to design all of this, because once the person moves around, we need to give the instructions of what the person is going to see, right? So this example shows a wireframe. So we give the layers of the wireframe. Okay. For more information, you guys can check the 360 storyboard. Very interesting. And another example will be prototyping for 3D, and will be very ludic, right? We're going to prototype using Play-Doh or clay, and that's how we can do user testing, because that's the closest we can get to immersion. Also, some challenges we need to think about is about motion sickness. So once we are designing, we need to be aware of that. For example, me, Flávia, I cannot really use current AR, VR devices. I've used very little, very few times, and I don't really feel well. Maybe if I get used to it more times, but normally I don't feel well about it. So we need to think about that. So many people do have motion sickness. We need to think about mental health. So as designers, we really need to think about that. People can have disturbances, cognitive, emotional, and behavior when re-entering the real world following a VR experience. So it's our duty, it's important for us as designers to design in a way that we avoid that, or we lower the minimum, the disturbances for re-entry in the real world. Also, we need to think about virtual embodiment. And this is that people can kind of like get attached to their virtual body, and they can kind of start disliking their real body. So this can also lead to emotional, cognitive, and behavioral change. We had a recent soap opera here in Brazil, and there was an example here that this teenager, he had social problems, like he didn't interact with people, he was staying a lot on the computer, and he liked much more like his virtual self on the games and that he created, and he didn't really like his own self. So that was a problem, and so that's important for us to think about virtual embodiment. And also, as designers, we need to think about physical safety. So how people is going to use this equipment walking around. We need to think about preventing falls and impacts. So how to design for that, how to avoid problems for physical safety of people. And also another challenge that is important to think about is about accessibility and equity. So accessibility is inclusion of all, and equity is, let's see, guarantee access to technology to all. So I see opportunities here for us as designers, designing for diversity. So if we think about like our digital twin, our avatar, it's important that we create inclusive avatars. So do the more precise personalization as possible. So skin tone, hair, ethnic, shape, voice. Imagine if I could do my avatar with my accent, right? Or in Brazil, we have in Portuguese accents, different accent in different parts of the country. Or in the US, or you have like a British accent, a US accent, an Australian accent. So this is inclusiveness, right? So people can really customize and personalize their avatars to be how they really are. Another thing interesting about opportunities for us is that physical limitations can be overcome in the metaverse. If you don't walk in the metaverse, you could walk, right? If you have any physical limitation in the metaverse, your avatar could not have that. So it could enable people to overcome their limitations. Even like metaverse, I've seen a few initiatives that been using metaverse for rehab, for working with the limitations and rehabilitation of physical education, right? So really interesting. And now thinking about like, how are we going to include visual impairment? So how are we going to include the blind? And the message that I give here is for us to use all the senses, right? Not only the sight. So in the metaverse, I think that we're going to have opportunity to use other senses, to use the tactile, we're going to use auditory, so we can have different feedback. And I think we will be able to include more people, and as technology increases and enhances and develops, probably we'll be able to include all. So we need to be aware and prepared, because metaverse is already here. So as I showed you guys, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of virtual training. There's a lot of digital twins, a lot of gaming around. There are virtual worlds out there. So the opportunities are there. We need to be prepared, and there are many challenges for us as designers. So start studying, start reading, be aware of the challenges, because this is a great opportunity of growth for us as designers. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to grow and to help build the metaverse. So thank you, guys. This is what the message that I had. I want you guys to think about it, to consider what we have in the future, and think about these impacts in your life. Thank you.
Great, Flavia. Thank you to invite us to think about all these challenges. As you said, now in the end, it's a huge opportunity and also a big challenge for you guys that works with UX. And the more you guys work, better will be for us to use the metaverse more usable for everybody. It will be very interesting.
Yeah, lots of challenges in the future. You're welcome.
Yes, that maybe people can imagine, and you guys are already studying and think solutions. Very interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you have any question, Flavia will be here to answer by texting. Please write here for us. I want to thank you, Flavia, for her time and this presentation that opened our eyes. Even if we don't work with this, we'll be aware about the challenges. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And next session, if you guys are registered, come back, return the website, go there to the agenda and choose the ones you are already registered. Okay, stay with us. It's very nice, this Global Dev Week. Thank you, Flávia. See you soon.
Thank you.